Hans Westman here. Today we're going to be looking at a program called Blender. It's a 3D program which is an open source 3D software that is very similar to 3D Studio Max and Maya, probably more so Maya, and with a different interface in ways, but also at the same time very similar. So this is the website that I thought would be appropriate to share, where you can see it is blender.org, and this is where you can actually download the program. It's free. If you want to donate some money, you can also do that as well too, as far as supporting the group which is developing this. And if you have skills yourself, you might want to also work with compadres that are interested in this. Download page is here. They're up to version 4.4. I'm on 4.3.1 that I've been using lately. If you have an earlier operating system that does not support newer versions of software, you can go to previous versions here. You can see also you have an option to quickly get the latest version for the Mac OS and Linux as well. So if you click down previous versions, you have the list here. Download any Blender version of everything which has been developed and updated. So let's get to it. This is the software. If you just hold on 1 second, I'm going to close this and open it once again so you see the screen when it's fresh. So when you open it, you'll get a splash screen that looks like this. And as far as the different types of things that you can develop in Blender, General is the one that we're going to be working in for the most part. We have 2D animation, sculpting, VFX, video editing as well too. But like I'm saying, we're going to be focusing on modeling and getting familiar with the different tools and how they work here with some simple exercises. Recent files you find on this side as well. Again, donate, so on and so forth. Version 4.3.2. So if I click here, the screen disappears, and the first thing you'll see is that there's a cube which is already created in this X, Y, and Z 3D space, this Cartesian coordinate space. Up in the upper left right-hand corner, you'll see the orientation, Y, Z up, and then X would be to the side. If you click on the keyboard, which has a tilde on it, not with the shift, but just the keyboard, it'll bring you up a screen, and you can see very quickly you can select top, front, left, camera, bottom, right, back, and so forth. Also, view selection, and that's what we're going to be looking at right now in a second. So if I were to, again, click in the center of this spot just to get that menu away, hold down Shift, move this to the right, that's your pan. You can also do this here with the hand, holding your left mouse button down like this. Or if you hold down Control and middle mouse button, you hold that down. That's your zoom right there. You can do the same thing here as well, holding your left mouse button down, if this is what you like to do. And again, I'll click on the tilde and go to View Selected, which brings it right back into the center of what it is that you're looking at. This orange border indicates what it is that we're looking at here. Now, if you take a look at the right side here, This is transform as far as the positioning of this object is concerned. If I were, for instance, to hold down my left mouse button on this number here for the X, you can see that it's moving in this direction. Control Z brings it back. That's your undo. And I'm going to close this here. And if you take a look also at the viewport display, you have the option, for instance, to click on wireframe. So now you can see the wireframe of this object in addition to the solid aspect of it. Now, if you click on the letter Z, it's going to bring up another menu. You can have different views that you can look at it like this, similar to what you have here, textured, as you can see. There, solid, wireframe. You're going to hit Z over here for the shortcut once again, and solid. We have to have this selected first, obviously. Now we're going to hit solid. We should be able to see that. I guess you can't. I guess it has to be in the state first here. Z, and then wireframe. Z, and then back to solid. So this is more nailing it down, I guess. And over here you have the possibility of making those changes. So like I was saying, we have done some orientation of this. And what we're going to do now is we are going to see how we can work with building up the same type of a thing here, only from scratch. And this is so that we can also become familiar with the different building blocks which you have in a 3D model. We'll start out first of all by deleting this object. And up here with these menus, you have one which is called Add. If I click on that, you can see Mesh, and I'm going to go to the first one, which is Plane. So if we take a look at this, we're going to change now the object, the mode that we're in. Right now we're in object mode. We're going to go to edit mode. The shortcut to bounce between edit mode and object mode is the tab key. So that's a good thing to do. And depending on which mode you're in gives you different options here as well too. So what we're going to do now is take a look at the different components. The first thing is if I click in edit mode, the number 1, I hit that key, that gives me access to the vertices. If I want to move that, I have my tools right here. Here's one move tool, like this. As you can see, Control Z brings this back. Another way to get to this would be is if I went to hold on Shift and then click on the space bar. That brings up a menu, and then I can go to Move right there the same way. If I want to go to the Select tool, which is right up here, in other words, I select it but nothing happens, I can hit W, and if I continue hitting W, you see that there's different options as far as the selection is concerned. So in this case, I'm just going to be using this one that has the crosshair with the arrows on it. If I use this one here with the peripheral around it, that means I can hold down my mouse button, left mouse button, release, and I can select more than one at a time. If I hold down Shift, after I select the first one, I can append new ones all the way around, just like this. Just like that. What else can I say here? Okay. So the next one would be hitting the number 2. That allows us to click on these edges. And these edges here stretch from one vertice to the next and are a part of the construction of this surface which is developed. If I get rid of, for instance, one, let's go back to the vertices again here. If I click on one vertice, right click on it, and actually what I'm going to do is delete by hitting X, and you can see here vertices, edges, faces. What I want to do here is I want to dissolve the vertice, and what's happening here now is that you have like a triangle. And just to illustrate this, geometry wise, we have like the option of requiring 1, 2, 3 vertices, and then that allows for 3 edges to develop your surface, and that would be the least common number of that is required in order to develop a surface. This is called a trie. Control Z. This is 2 tries equals a quad. That's what this is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a box based on this surface that we have created. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a subdivision of this surface so that we have a little bit more to work with. If I go to the number 3, that allows me to select what is referred to as the face. In this case, it's a quad. Right click again, brings up this menu which is specific to faces, and I click on subdivide. And here in the lower left hand corner I get a menu which allows me to determine the number of cuts or edges that I want to add here, and I'm going to change it from 1 to 2, and that's good for me. So now if we take a closer look at this, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 faces. And that means that we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 vertices, and I won't go over counting these edges, but that's where we're at. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select edit mode once again, one face, hold down shift, the next one, and next one, 4 of these, and then we're going to delete these. And the way we do that, in this case, we have delete, seems to be working by using the delete button there, or like I was saying before, we have the X, and that would be more specific to Blender. And instead of dissolving, we are going to actually delete the faces here. So now we have a cross, and I'm going to select the one in the center. And now what I want to do, if I again hit the tilde key, I'm going to go to the top, or I should say I'm going to go to the right. So X is in the front, and I want to move this up, and I want it to be as close to a square as possible. You can see with this grid here that I can actually snap it into place so that it becomes a little bit more specific, and I can do that by, while I'm moving this up, hold down control, and then you can see it starts to pop just like this. So now I have this looking like a square, or a cube once again, or a square I should say, and holding down the center mouse button again. Now you can see what it actually looks like. What we want to do now is we want to get these guys to be welded together, and the way that we can do that is if I then go back to 1, and I have this selected right here. I select those two vertices are selected, right click, and we're going to merge those, and we're going to merge them at the center. So the common center is where they're going to connect. We have that one. We'll do the same thing here, right click, merge at center. Do the same thing here again, right click, merge at center. One more time, merge at center. And now if we go and look at the top, so if I take again the tilde, we go to the top, we can see what this looks like here now. And I'm going to click on the 2, which is the edges. This is an interesting one here. If I hold down Alt and click on this edge, it selects all of the edges which are connected in a circle. And this is what you would call a loop. This time what we're going to do is use the scale tool here to bring these in so that they are essentially lined up with this right here, which is at the top. And I can, again, I'm going to use the control for this to snap, and then click on the circle which is there, which means that it will be a common there. And now, if we take a look at this again, we have almost a box with a bottom which has been needs to be filled. So the way that I can do that is a couple ways. If I, for instance, I'm not sure if we necessarily have to do it like this though. I can go to the object is what I can do. Actually, we're going to do an extrude here is what we're going to do first. If we go to just the one edge instead, and then we go to right click, extrude edge is what we have here, and then we can again hold down control, and this will allow us to move it in one direction, and click. That's extruded now, and now we're going to move it back like this, and we're going to do essentially the same thing that we did before. I'm going to move it down just a little bit as well to 1, and let's go to this one. So a little bit different that we're going to do it this time. I'm going to move in a little bit closer, shift, middle mouse button so I can get in there. Once again, 1, and then I'm going to go to this one here, shift. If I hit the Z, I can actually go to wireframe so you can see this a little bit better as well. This time, with the merge, you'll see that we have also the center, but then we have first and last. I want it to be merged at the position, which is the second one that we selected. We'll do it one more time. This one, and then we want to go shift. We want that to connect to that so that is in alignment with what the box would be. Right click, go down to merge to last. And then it will be the same thing here as well. Shift, right click, merge to last. Okay. So let's go to the object mode with the tab. Z, I'm going to make this into the solid once again. And again, if I go to the tilde and view selection like this, middle mouse button, holding it down, then I can see how we've got this going. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the edit mode by hitting tab and then 3 so that I can select all the faces. And again, I have the region select here. And then if I move to the back side, you can see that it only selects that which I can see. And I hold down Shift like this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extend each one of these sides individually with an extrude. The way that I can do that is I can first of all go to the extrude, right click, extrude along extrude faces here, and hold on a second. Let's try this one more time. Control Z. We're going to try this one more time. Just hold on a second. Okay, so Control Z. We're going to try this once again. Over here in this list of options that you have as far as tools are concerned, you see we have an extrude right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to extrude individual. And if I do that, this is where I come to what I wanted to do right here. So I am dealing with each one of these faces individually. And now I am going to manipulate that here with the scale tool. And if I go up here, you can see that I have the option right here to go to individual origins right here. But before we do that, we're just going to take a look and see what happens if I do use the median point, which is the common center point right here. It would bring everything back down into the center. And we're not interested in doing that right now. We're going to go to individual origin, and again, independently be able to bring this down if I wanted. And then at this point, then I could go back, for instance, to the median point and bring this in just about like that. So you can see the different options that you can work with in this case. Common center and then also the individual center points. All right, so now we have a basic object which we're going to manipulate even further. We want to change this so that it becomes more round like a ball. And what we can do then here is go back to object mode, just like this. And what I'm going to do now is change from seeing what this is called here. You can see that this highlighted to this little wrench. If I click on that, I can add a modifier, and it's going to be generate this list right here. I'm going to go to multi solutions right there, which essentially is the same thing as smoothing this thing out if I do a subdivide like this. And then you can see that it has become more rounded, okay? Right now we're in object mode. If we click on the tab, you can still see that we can manipulate this at its original level. So let's now duplicate this. Control, or I should say Shift and then the letter D as in David. Bring this over. If I hold down Control again, bring it over so it's sort of at the same level as this. And at this point, Z, or I should say, sorry, not Z, we want to go to the tilde, we want to go to the view this select in the center. And what we're going to do now is right click, and we're going to convert this to a mesh. By doing that, what happens now is that if we go to this level, which is the edit mode, now you can see that we are actually at that same level as what we had before. And if I click on this guy over here, the original one, back to edit mode, or I should say object mode, you can see the difference. Object mode, click on this guy again. There we go. Click on this one here. Let's take a look and see what it looks like if I go to the object. Same thing there. Now, let's say that we wanted to go back to seeing this in its own self once again. And let's say that we wanted to make this a little bit rounder than what it was. We have a little button here that says smooth. And if we, first of all, select all the surfaces here. Once again, Shift. Make sure that we have them all selected. There might be a different way that you can do this as well. As a matter of fact, I think, let's try it. If I hold down Alt, click on 1. Okay, that's another way of doing this here. Alt. Yeah, you can see that there's different ways of doing this. I'm just going to use the Shift here and get all these guys selected now. Okay, now I should be all fine, pretty much. Okay, all these guys are selected, and now I can click on Smooth, and you can see that this will expand the distribution tension as far as how all the vertices are related to each other. And now, basically, if we want to get rid of what it is that we did there before, we can go again back to the object mode, right-click, convert to mesh. That's what I'm guessing here, which is already done. And yeah, so that's a basic orientation for these different things that we have created, and we're going to go into some other things after this, but this is the first intro, so to speak.